The Pragg versus Arjun quarterfinals was the most exciting match of the World Cup. It went on for a whopping 9 games. The match was decided in the final blitz game, the sudden death blitz game. So let us see how things unraveled from the beginning to the end in this amazing duel between two Indian youngsters. We'll look at the critical moments of each of the games and see how one player was able to go forward to the semis and the other was knocked out in the blitz. Let's start with the first classical game. In the first classical game, Arjun played this brilliant sacrifice at this moment where Pragg is down to less than a minute on his clock. Arjun played knight takes g3, a sack out of nowhere. He's giving up a piece, but what does he have in return? There's no check. Where is the attack? The pawn is blocking the queen. This diagonal is also blocked by the pawn. And he just plays a calm pawn move, d3. The point being the diagonal is now opened up, and that's enough for the piece apparently. After bishop g2, which was a mistake by Pragg, Pragg had to play king h1. After bishop g2, the queen jumps in with check, and after king moves, queen f2, Pragg defended passively, but that was not enough. Rook e2, a very nice move, and now he's going to play d2 without the rook block getting blocked. Queen e7, Arjun just calmly plays e7. I mean d2. Queen f6 takes, king takes. It's an endgame with the piece down, but the pawn is enough counterplay. And not just the pawn, Arjun is brave enough to bring the king in. He sees the idea. A king walk. And here the bishop was forced to take the rook. And after king takes, the pawn is going to promote. An active king and a pawn fighting against a rook. The king came here and there is no way to stop this. Rook f1. But after this, pawn b6. Here, Pragg resigned because the pawn in game is just winning for Arjun. Because after king d2, king f2, g5, g4, h4, the white king is going to run out of squares. White king will be out of opposition and black would anyway win. So a nice way to start the match by Arjun. In the second game, Pragg was in a must-win situation. And very few people would have counted on Pragg to win with black to level the match. That too in a classical game. Here, Pragg got this nice position, but Arjun has an active rook and bishop. Pragg is up by a pawn, but the pawns are doubled. Here, Arjun decided to go for counterplay with the a pawn, which was not the right decision because suddenly his pieces are all stuck. The a pawn was able to advance till the end. You see, the bishop cannot move because the pawn will hang, and the rook can't move because the bishop will hang. So basically, the rook has only these two squares to stay on. So Pragg is almost in Sukswan. And now c5. And the a pawn kept going forward. Pragg played a rook f8 move, but okay, he went back. And now, with the extra pawn, he's able to win because this is completely stuck. Except for this move, there's nothing else to do. So, king d3, but h5, king c3, and now e4. Takes, and the black king is active. King b5, but just h4. Rook d7, king g3. So, both the pawns are going to fall. c4. Bishop c7. So the idea of what was the need to play c4? The pawn will anyway hang. But yeah, c4, bishop into c7, takes, and king takes. Both pawns fall. He plays rook g8, defending the g pawn, and then takes. So basically, Pragg is going to give up the rook, but he will have two connected pass pawns. And he queens. And the queen endgame, it's 4 pawns up. So he has to just avoid the checks. And he does that without any problems. King goes in, check, lot of checks. The pawn goes all the way till the end. And Pragg stops the checks. You can't give a check here because then the queen blocks with the counter check. And now pawn a6, h3. King moves and queen check. Queen e7, again checks. And the queen appears on the board. And thus the classical portion was tied 1-1. And then we go to the tiebreak day, which starts with two 25 plus 10 games. In the first 25 plus 10 game, Arjun was white, but they reached a rook end game, which is totally drawn because white has a outside pass pawn, but he can't move the rook. Then the d4 pawn falls. So both kings would just wait and they agreed to a draw here. So 1.5, 1.5. Now the second rapid game, 25 plus 10, that was also drawn after knight b6. They both agreed to a draw because knight takes, bishop takes is an opposite color bishop endgame with no chances for either side. So after the first two rapid games, it was 2-2. One win each in classical, and then two draws. 2-2. And then we come to the 10 plus 10 rapid portion. In the first 10 plus 10 game, Arjun is basically upper pawn. And here, Arjun has a very nice A pawn that's going very fast forward. And F7 is under slight pressure. But Pragg also has a nice pass pawn. So here Arjun plays Queen C4, throwing away all the advantage. He allowed a rook and game. He thought the rook and game was winning. Instead, he had to play Queen C6, preparing Rook C8 and then A7 A8. And that would have been just crushing. But instead, under heavy time pressure, okay, 1 minute on the clock, he played Queen C4 and Pragg went to a rook and game and actually managed to win the rook and game. How did he win? Because he has got two connected pass pawns compared to White's two disconnected pass pawns. And here, Pragg just gets his king in, and the rook comes behind with check, and the G and H pawns decide the game. Takes, very nice move, giving up the rook, but the rook is not worth 2 pawns, it's on the third rank. 3 pawns are much better than the rook. And here, the pawn just becomes a queen, and then it's just a matter of winning the queen versus rook endgame, which Pragg does with no problems, smoothly. He has to find a fork to the king and the rook. And here, Arjun resigned because wherever the rook moves, there's going to be checkmate incoming. So Pragg was leading by 1 point. And now comes the second 10 plus 10 game. Arjun was in a must-win situation. And Arjun got a nice position out of the opening. Here, Pragg went for A4, allowing B4. His idea was he can now take on C4. It's not easy to defend C4. So, but Arjun plays B3 and Pragg's idea was this, knight takes C4. If pawn takes queen, just knight takes queen and the C pawn will anyway fall. But Arjun played queen B4, surprising Pragg. And after queen D3, takes, bishop A6. It's almost lost for, it's actually completely lost for Pragg because the C4 knight is hanging and the B pawn is too strong. So Pragg played queen D2, allowing the exchange of queens. And you can't take here because bishop D3 wins the piece back, right? So Arjun plays rook B8, takes, and knight check, king moves, knight B5, pawn B2. The pawn is too strong. Takes, and that's a winning endgame for Arjun. Rook B6, D5, king D6, and here Pragg resigned because there's two connected pass pawns and one is sitting on B2. No counterplay for Pragg. So Arjun managed to tie the match. So it was 3-3 after 6 games, 2 classical games, then 2 25 plus 10 rapid, and then 2 10 plus 10 rapid. And now the match was going to 2 5 plus 3 blitz. So let's see what happened in the first 5 plus 3 blitz. This was a Joko piano, which was misplayed by Arjun, and Pragg punished him. In this position, this is almost the end of the game. Here, Pragg has a great position. His king is safe, White's king is not. And material-wise, he's also a pawn up. And Pragg played, can you find the killer move he played to finish it off? He has a lot of winning moves. He plays rook g2. The point being, queen takes rook, queen takes f4, and king is not safe, and 2 pawns up. And black's pieces are too good. The bishop versus knight with the king open, no chance. So knight e4 was played, and Pragg plays rook h2 check, king moves. And here Pragg plays rook check, knight blocks. And there are so many good options, but with very less time, Pragg finds the most pragmatic option. Bishop d5. Rook d1, and here comes rook h1. So the point being, if queen takes, then queen takes rook, and there is queen takes rook here. So that is just lost. So that is how Pragg won the first blitz game, 5 plus 3. So he was again 1 point ahead in the match. So in the next game, Arjun must win if he wants to stay in the match. And it was a crazy game. Both players were so close to losing on time. There were a few seconds left. And here, Pragg was so low on time, he played queen b2. Pragg almost had the win here. Position is really good for Pragg. Queen b2 is also fine. And after knight f6, Pragg is completely in control. The knight spin. Here Arjun played rook takes bishop, and here Pragg blundered. You will get back the piece by rook takes knight, or Rook takes, knight takes, and queen h8. That's also getting back the piece. But Pragg played queen takes f6. And do you see why that's a blunder? Arjun instantly took on h6. It's a full rook up. There's just not enough play after that. Queen check, king moves, just some spy checks, and Arjun consolidates. Queen c6. Nice move. And everything is together, and it's almost checkmate here. Yeah, it's queen versus rook with a lot of pawns. So here Pragg resigned. So the match was tied 4-4. And now it was going to be about sudden death. So two classical games, uh, four rapid games, and then two blitz games. And now comes sudden death. Whoever wins the blitz game wins the match. If it's a draw, another blitz game with opposite colors. So in the blitz game, which was a very exciting affair, Arjun played queen a5. He did not see Pragg's next move. So Pragg got an advantage after queen b3 because he's hitting d5 and he's hitting b7. Arjun had sacrificed a pawn here to break up Pragg's pawn structure, but Pragg is getting a pawn. So here queen takes a4, getting back the pawn, but then bishop d5 and Pragg is up a pawn. Now the play is so easy for him. Takes, queen goes back, a4, rook d8, queen comes to f3, bishop f6, and knight c4, takes, rook attacking the e pawn, knight c4, queen e6. Now there's a threat on e2. So you can take on d7, but then you lose this nice pawn, which is holding everything together. So knight e3 was chosen by Pragg. The better option would have been rook e1. But yeah, knight e3, b6. And here there was a option to play c4 to break up the pawn structure. If pawn takes, pawn takes would allow rook d2. Ideas like that are in the air. And also bishop e4. That would have been another nice idea. But yeah, Arjun didn't find that. He was again low on time, both of them were. He goes b6 defending the b pawn, but now Pragg stops c4. He had seen that. Now rook a8, queen f4, activating the queen, rook a5, rook b8, b1, attacking b6. So the a pawn will probably fall, but counterplay on b pawn. Bishop g6, improving the bishop, rook b2, queen c6, and now rook b1. Takes on a4, exchange of queens, and takes on d6. So Pragg is up by a pawn, but it's a bishop versus knight. And now king h7, rook b2. With enough time, there's an easy win for Pragg, but just 12 seconds. These guys are so low on time, but they're playing very effective chess. Rook check, king moves, and now rook c1. Rook c6, attacking c5. Rook defends it. Rook goes back. Bishop f5, takes, and now f4. Rook comes to c7, just like a waiting move, attacking f7. Rook goes back, and now king f3, activating the king. And now rook b5. Both rooks are attacking c5. Both are defended. Both rooks are defending it. And now comes e4. Pragg is getting one more pawn. The rook has no space left. It has to go back. And after rook f6, he takes. Rook check, king moves, rook moves back. So it's 2 pawns up for Pragg. That too, one of them passed. And the rooks are too active. So here Pragg can see the entry into semi-final in front of him. He has to just play calmly, which he does. He was again very low on time all this time. But the play is easy. He goes e6, but he gets the g pawn. And now he gets the e pawn as well by coming back. Nice move. Under pressure, he's doing well. Rook f6, and now he converts it without any problems. It's 2 connected pass pawns. The king is cut off. The white pawn just keeps going forward. And here Arjun resigns. And that ended that mammoth match between two friends, Arjun and Pragg. And Pragg is through to not just the semi-final of the World Cup, he's also going to play in the candidates. Generally, top 3 plays of the World Cup plays in the candidates, but here Magnus Carlsen is in the top 4, and he's not going to play the candidates. He has announced. So that means the remaining 3 semi-finalists are playing the candidates. So we have one Indian. Praggnanandhaa is going to play FIDE Candidates 2024 and possibly become the youngest world champion from India, or the youngest world champion ever.